I'm meteorologist Melissa Nord here just after 1 o'clock on our Thursday afternoon. And big picture, we now have an expansion of the winter storm watch to include all of metro Atlanta. So this storm system that's going to be beginning tomorrow is going to sweep from New Mexico all the way in. Look at these watches right now. They stretch all the way up to Boston in New England. So big system getting ready to unfold. And for us in North Georgia, this is not a snow system. This is a little bit of sleet and a lot of freezing rain. Some lucky ones will also see a little bit of just cold rain moving in as well. So that winter storm watch expanded, including all of metro Atlanta. And I want to talk about what could be the worst case scenario versus the best case scenario. So we're starting to see models, high resolution models coming into range, but a lot of our larger models that we can look at, 5 days out, 7 days out or whatever, they still have some disagreements, and they're trying to resolve how deep that wedge is going to be entrenched in North Georgia versus how much that warm air can erode it away and warm the temperatures up. On one end of the scale, this is the American model, and this is showing a really nasty ice storm north and east of Atlanta, and even for Atlanta, an incredibly disruptive ice storm there as well. So what's the worst case scenario? Well, crippling ice storm for northeast Georgia. We're talking ice accumulation totals, ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch, possibly higher than that. That would mean widespread power outages as that ice weighs down on trees and power lines, and we add some gusts to 25 miles per hour in the equation along with it. It would also mean, impossible travel. If it does reach that threshold of ice accumulation and the temperatures are dropping, it's not just the trees and everything that are going to see that ice, it's going to be the ground as well. So dangerous travel, and those power outages could last for days. Everything would be closed up there in the mountains. I think that's pretty safe to say from Saturday afternoon onward, especially through the day on Sunday and even into Monday. For the metro area, it would mean a disruptive ice storm. We'd be talking about ice accumulation totals between 1/4 of an inch and 1/2 inch. That is enough to cause scattered power outages as you introduce gusty winds with that. It also means that any untreated roadways would be very dangerous, icy, slick. Travel would be impossible in many cases as well. And that's going to be here in metro Atlanta. This is the worst case. This is not the best case or what may actually play out. This is worst case in our models because we want you to be aware of that. And we would see some lighter amounts south and west of the city, 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, maybe some isolated power outages, but it would really be that perimeter points north and east, inside the perimeter, and then northeast of Atlanta where we'd see these greatest impacts. Now, best case scenario, let's say that model runs keep coming in, they show more of that warmer air coming in. That's great news for metro Atlanta, but we still are not going to shake an ice storm from northeast Georgia. Northeast Georgia, you still see in that purple color, that's over 1/2 an inch of ice accumulation. Here in the metro area, it would be 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch on the northeast side, and very light glazing of ice south and west of that. So it would still mean, regardless of best case or worst case scenario, it's still going to mean an ice storm in northeast Georgia. It's still going to mean 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch of ice in those locations, causing numerous power outages. And when we talk about power outages, they go out for the storm to be done, and then they get to work on restoring the power. But if we still have ice everywhere, that makes it very difficult to restore power while the temperatures are cold. And we are going to see really cold air building in on the back side of the system too. In the metro, it would mean a nuisance icing event. So I put nuisance ice storm. That really should be nuisance freezing rain event. So I'll just fix that. Nuisance freezing rain in metro. There we go. That way it's correct for you all. So that would mean 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch. Bridges and overpasses that are untreated, very, very slick and icy. And even roadways would be very dangerous. But when we see only 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of ice, the biggest impact is the travel. The power outage threat is much lower because you have less ice that's weighing down those trees and the power lines and everything. Did you know just 1/4 of an inch of ice adds 500 pounds of weight to a power line? It's a lot. It's a lot. All right, glazing of ice, south and west, I don't expect many impacts there based on that. So what I want you to take away from all this is we still don't know exactly what we're going to see, but we know there will be at least a disruptive ice storm in northeast Georgia and a nuisance freezing rain event at minimum here in Metro Atlanta. We could see the pendulum swing towards that worst case scenario or higher end rather than the lower end. So we are watching all of that for you. So be prepared for the travel impacts, the closures, and those power impacts that could also come as we track this system. Now, right now outside, if you've stepped outside today, it's not a pretty day. It's a pretty gloomy day. We've got rain that's been working over Metro Atlanta and North Georgia. It's been in the 40s for temperatures. This is not the system we're expecting for the weekend. This is the precursor to the system we're expecting for the weekend. That one is actually coming on the coast in the West Coast, and it's going to be moving out towards New Mexico, the Four Corners, and then cutting across to the east. So I'll first show you a big picture with that storm, what it's going to look like. Here's Saturday morning. We are off to a dry start. Sometime Saturday afternoon, we would see some light raindrops and sleet pellets begin. As the atmosphere moistens up, we would see that sleet transition to freezing rain. The wedge would be entraining and entrenching in that Northeast Georgia corridor. So freezing rain would start to accumulate, it become more widespread, and it really intensify. Here's the warm air trying to nestle its way in on Sunday morning. I'm not sure if we're actually going to see this much warm air making a transition back to rain in all of North Georgia, but there's that window we can warm up Saturday afternoon and then Sunday afternoon, and then Sunday in the overnight we would see the back edge of that system moving in. So big picture. On and off nuisance showers through the day today. As we head through tomorrow, we could still see some rain showers around in the morning. We'll dry out for the most part Friday afternoon. Saturday, we start your weekend off mostly dry, but lunchtime onward, that wintry mix begins to move in. So you can see here Saturday at noon, we start to see the wintry mix moving into Northwest Georgia first. It's kind of hard to see here, but the pink, actually it's quite hard to see on this monitor. Let's see if I can take the cloud layer off. We'll take that cloud layer off for a second, just so it's a little bit easier to see for you all. Let me back this up to Saturday. All right, so the beginning of that wintry mix, it would really be some sleet pellets at first that we would see Saturday afternoon. Then it would develop into the freezing rain. You see those wind lines on this map. That's that northeast wind pulling the temperatures down as we head through Saturday night through Sunday morning. So freezing rain developing, even freezing drizzle where you're not seeing steady rain outside, we would see freezing drizzle. And then here's Sunday morning, widespread freezing rain, and we can't take that model out any further than that. So there's a lot of things we got to prepare for. Let's go through an overall timeline just to kind of recap here as we close. For Saturday, we would start the day dry. So looks like Saturday morning is mostly dry. So if you got any last minute grocery shopping you got to do, be home by noon, okay? Anything that begins Saturday afternoon is going to be light in nature. It's not going to be intense at first. It will start off light, then it will gradually pick up throughout the afternoon. So we'll see that light wintry mix developing. Untreated bridges and overpasses will be the first ones to turn slick with that. Then as we head past sunset, Saturday evening and overnight, road conditions would deteriorate as temperatures start dropping from the mid 30s to the low 30s to the 20s. We will likely see mid and upper 20s first thing on Sunday morning. Mid and upper 20s and freezing rain is not a good combination. 30-degree freezing rain is a lot different from a 26-degree freezing rain. It accretes, a lot easier. It's more viscous of a fluid. Okay, Saturday night, accumulations intensify, temperatures dropping down through the 20s, treacherous travel, and then Sunday morning especially, very treacherous travel as the wintry mix, really freezing rain continues. The power outage threat would begin to increase as ice accumulations would increase, and then we'll be watching that Sunday afternoon time frame to see if we can warm up above freezing. Some of our models have been hinting at that slightly warmer air trying to erode that wedge. We want that to happen because the more areas that can warm up, even by a few degrees, it either slows down the rate of that freezing rain accumulating, or it helps out in some areas changing over to a cold rain if we do end up with that. So there is a lot that we still don't know about this system, but a lot that we do know, and there is a lot of potential with this system for a significant storm, especially northeast of Atlanta. Southwest of Atlanta, we do not expect at this point really disruptive impacts, but it's that Atlanta, points north and east corridor where all of our models have been signaling that this is a wedge setup with a big freezing rain event that could unfold. So that's the latest here on 11 Alive Plus. I'll be back at 2 o'clock for another update as we get more model information in this afternoon as well. What you're going to see from here, though, more of those features of live radar, the winter storm watch, the timeline of things that's going to unfold through the evening. That's going to be here on 11 Alive Plus for you. 2 o'clock on your Thursday afternoon. I'm meteorologist Melissa Knorr with this extended live update here on 11 Alive Plus, looking ahead to our winter storm over the weekend. And in the last 2 hours, we've seen the winter storm watch expanded for North Georgia. This is a really large storm system. Look at the alerts on the map, all the way from New Mexico, eastern Arizona, through the southern plains, through the southeast, through the Ohio Valley, all the way up into New England. In fact, some areas included now in winter storm watches. So the path of this moisture has shifted north a little bit. However, what we are expecting in North Georgia is a wedge of cool air, and that moisture is going to work on top of it. This is a classic setup for us to see a freezing rain or ice storm event unfold. So the National Weather Service has expanded the winter storm watch to include all of Metro Atlanta, Northeast Georgia as well. There's a few counties not included within that because the chance there of seeing a prolonged freezing rain event is lower, although you still could see some freezing rain or drizzle. So that'll go into effect Saturday afternoon through Monday morning. And, you know, we talk about the models doing the windshield wiper, going a little north, coming back to the south, having some disagreements. We're actually seeing pretty decent agreement in the signals of where we're going to see the most extensive ice. That's not really going to change between now and the start of this event. The most significant icing is going to be up here, right along this 985 corridor, even into Northeast Georgia. This is our classic wedge setup. So in those locations, we're most likely going to see disruptive, if not crippling, ice accumulation amounts. So we're talking about ice accumulation amounts that could be in excess of a half an inch or more. And when we talk about ice accumulation amounts, I'm going to pull up a graphic for you, which kind of tells the story of the impacts that we see. What I want to preface that with is that we see ice amounts that build up a lot differently when it's 31 degrees in freezing rain versus 27 degrees in freezing rain. And we might end up seeing that bucket of 27 or 26 degrees or 25 degrees in freezing rain rather than seeing it be 30 degrees or so. So a lot of impacts are expected. You know, I'm trying to find my ice graphic and I'm not having much luck. Here we go. Here's the ice graphic. So ice accumulation amounts. When we have 1/10 of an inch of ice, this is kind of a light glazing. Your bridges and overpasses start to get pretty slick. Walking on the sidewalk becomes pretty slick. Some of the roads start to get a bit slick as well. We will also see that that glazing is going to coat your windshield. It's going to start coating the power lines, but it's only 1/10 of an inch. So it doesn't weigh the power lines down, doesn't weigh all that stuff down yet. We get to 1/4 of an inch, we start to see that, well, number one, roads are very treacherous, if not impassable. Tree limbs are going to start sagging and weighing down, and some of the smaller branches are going to be breaking off, and then power outages start to increase. And those power outages increase a lot quicker when we see winds in the equation as well. Sometimes we see more wind gusts in situations with the freezing rain. Other times we see lighter wind gusts. Well, in this case, we're going to have wind gusts of about 25 to 30 miles an hour during the event, Saturday overnight and Sunday. So that adds stress on the power lines and the trees. We get up to a half an inch or more of ice, which we expect for Northeast Georgia. That is a dangerous, potentially crippling ice storm if we see over 3/4 of an inch of ice. So travel's impossible. Tree damage becomes a lot more numerous to widespread. Power outages will be widespread, and those power outages could be long term, meaning not just a quick 24 hours. It could be for 2, 3, 4 days because there's so many power outages across the board when you introduce that much ice into the equation. So again, that's what those two models are showing. Now, there's some lower end models, kind of some best case scenarios as well. And here's one of those. This is the NAM model, the North American model. And, you know, sometimes the NAM resolves or understands the wedge a little better than some other models. In this case, I think it's showing the wedge eroding away quicker than what we probably think it will. It still has, though, regardless, that big bullseye of a half inch to 3, maybe a few 3/4 of an inch ice accumulation. And then it has kind of Athens down to the north side of Atlanta in about 1/4 of an inch or 2/10 of an inch of ice. So that would be more kind of nuisance for the metro. The road impact would be high. The power line impact would not be as high. we'll be watching that. The in-house graph model, this one, it hasn't gone out far enough in time. It only goes out to Sunday morning at 9 a.m., but you can see it's increasing that freezing rain to 1/4 of an inch in far north Georgia. And as the event continues, it would increase the amounts more than that. So this doesn't show the full picture through the full event, because we know it's going to last through at least Sunday late afternoon, if not past Sunday evening into the overnight. So what do we need to be preparing for now? Well, I want you to be prepared for that worst case scenario and hope for the best case scenario to play out. So that means that preparing to be in your house by Saturday at noon and not worrying about traveling through at least Monday morning, perhaps longer depending on how our temperatures shake out and how much freezing rain we actually have coming down. I want you to be prepared for power outages, especially northeast of Atlanta. If you're in northeast Georgia, those power outages will be widespread. They will last longer than a quick day. They're going to last a long time. And the reason why is we have to wait for all the precipitation to end, then the roads to become safe before crews can finally go in and restore the power. And then they have to bring those supplies in. So it's a whole like ballet dance of multiple facets that have to work together to restore the power after ice storms. And if we are digging ourselves out of a hole of cold air, well, the cold air is not going to be helping us. In fact, temperatures next week, I'll show you in a second, they're going to be colder Monday through Tuesday morning than what they're going to be during a lot of this event. So that's a facet that's not going to help us for getting out in recovery mode from the system. Closures, I mean, obviously, we see a few flurries and snowflakes and things close down. So I think Saturday morning there will still be some grocery stores open. Saturday afternoon, as the initial wintry mix develops, some of the roads might be manageable, so there might be a few places open. But Saturday overnight, Sunday during the day, there's going to be closures. Monday morning, there's going to be closures. I would place my bets on a lot of schools northeast of Atlanta being closed Monday. And if you're in northeast Georgia, probably closed Tuesday as well. So big impacts coming in from this system. Now, overall, we've got rain showers out there now. That system pulls away. The system that's going to bring the wintry weather is going to come in from the west as this Arctic eye is slipping in from the north. So the cold air is settling in and it changes everything over into wintry weather. This in this light pink color, that's our freezing rain and sleet, our wintry mix. To the north, it's all snow and pretty hefty snowfall at the same time. That's Saturday afternoon, everything beginning. We'll see it really intensify here over North Georgia with the best slug of moisture Sunday morning through early Sunday afternoon. So we're watching that very closely. Outside right now, we have got cloudy skies, rain on and off over North Georgia. What you're seeing outside right now is not the system that we're expecting over the weekend. So I'll show you forecast track here. Forecast track, let me actually back it up to today. On and off rain showers through the day today, through tonight with a little drizzle also mixing in there, little northeast wind trying to build in. That does nothing to favor us eroding away the drizzle and the cloud cover. We're probably going to be sucked into the clouds tomorrow morning with a little bit of drizzle. Friday afternoon winds try to change direction. That might help to dry us out a bit by the ending of Friday through Saturday morning. But then here comes the moisture from the west. Afternoon, we see the moisture start to move in, probably first with some little sleet pellets as we see dry air getting evaporated and we start to moisten up the atmosphere. Sometimes in these situations you can see little balls of ice, little sleet pellets at first. Then we see freezing rain developing, might be freezing drizzle throughout part of Saturday evening, and then becomes much more widespread light freezing rain to moderate freezing rain in northeast Georgia by Sunday morning. And this forecast track does not go out further than that. So just to kind of recap, we expect an impactful winter storm over North Georgia. Precipitation will begin sometime Saturday afternoon, first light, but then pick up in intensity overnight. As we get through Saturday night and Sunday morning, travel becoming difficult, in many cases impossible, depending on where you are within that winter storm development and how well your roads were pre-treated. Remember, what the brine does is it's going to lower the freezing point and break up the frozen molecules, the water molecules, not allowing them to bond to the road surface as well. When we have light amounts of any wintry weather, the brine's effective. As you introduce freezing rain in larger quantities, so not snow, but freezing rain, it's falling as liquid then freezing on contact. As we introduce more and more freezing rain, the brine becomes less effective. Okay, so it's a lot of science involved in that, but what I can tell you is the beginning of the event, roads that have been treated, they're going to be fine. It's going to be the later in the event that we go that it becomes more difficult. So I have a feeling GDOT's going to be using a lot of granular rock salt as we get through the event to try to keep those main highways, one road without icy conditions. It's going to be a tricky one for them. Sunday morning, freezing rain, first thing in the morning through much of the afternoon. We might see a warm nose trying to build in, warming some of those temperatures up west of Atlanta. If we do, you'll make it into the mid-30s. That would be a lucky case scenario. But if you're in Atlanta or northeast of Atlanta, the wedge is going to hold, the cold air is going to hold, temperatures below freezing are likely going to hold as well. So we'll be watching those temperatures very closely. But as we see the freezing rain accumulating, power outage threats would increase as the winds increase as well. So we are watching all of that for you over the weekend. In red, you see our weather impact alert. Today, tomorrow, on and off light showers expected. We'll watch that winter storm over the weekend, then look at our temperatures early next week. Monday, 34, 23 in the morning. So anything frozen when things end on Sunday is still going to be frozen on Monday morning. The mountains are probably not getting above freezing Monday afternoon. That's not good for the melting process. Tuesday, 17. Cold, 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 cold by the afternoon to the upper 30s, maybe around 40 for some of us. So it's going to take a bit as this cold Arctic air settles in to completely thaw out for locations that do see an ice storm and not just nuisance light icing amounts here in North Georgia. All right, that's the latest update. You're going to see some live looping graphics of radar and what we expect for the timeline of this winter storm. We'll be back again at 3 o'clock today with another extended update here on 11 Alive Plus and team coverage coming up, looking at how crews are preparing across North Georgia. The governor, Kemp, today issuing a state of emergency, and that state of emergency allows for resources to be deployed when those counties request them as we see this wintry weather unfolding over North Georgia. So we are watching all of this for you. We'll have more today at 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. It is 3 o'clock here on 11 Alive Plus. Looking ahead to our winter storm likely over the weekend. At this point, we feel confident saying this is primarily a freezing rain or in some cases an ice storm event for us. So that means we're going to plan on impacts to travel. Some of those travel impacts could be really very significant. And then power impacts as well. And those power impacts will grow as ice accumulation grows as well. Big picture, big winter storm getting underway. You can see here we've got from, well, now winter storm warnings in parts of New Mexico, and then all the way up into New England, we've got winter alerts on the maps. That includes a combination of some people getting snow, heavy snow coming down, some people getting a sloppy wintry mix. And for cases like us in North Georgia, it's primarily a freezing rain event for us. So a significant freezing rain setup underway for Sunday. Saturday afternoon through Monday morning, the winter storm watch in effect. That will eventually be upgraded into either a winter storm warning, an ice storm warning, or a winter weather advisory for different areas, depending on what's the predominant type of precipitation, how much are we likely going to see. My guess is that many areas would probably be placed under an ice storm warning just based on freezing rain being the primary type of precipitation likely here as we head through the weekend. Arctic cold building in from the north. Meanwhile, deep moisture working off the Gulf and actually coming in from the Pacific. And that's how we see this wintry mix developing over North Georgia and snow to the north. And that snow chance now that's shifted northward in several of the last day's model runs. So snow chances now stretch all the way into the south side of Cleveland, Ohio, even up into the northeast. Now, there has been some differences over the last couple of days with some of our models of how much warm air can get in here Sunday. Our models are trying to erode the wedge away a little bit, bringing in more of a cold rain, at least in West Georgia and Central Georgia. I'm telling you right now, this wedge right here, where it shows freezing rate on these graphics, it's going to hold. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us a prolonged freezing rain event, freezing rain that will be accumulating onto trees, onto power lines, onto bridges, overpasses, roadways, any surface out there, going to be left with a sheet of ice on it. So here's the European and the American models in this, we call it 12Z run, 12 Zulu run. And they're both in remarkable agreement about that northeast Georgia corridor getting significant ice totals over ½ an inch, in some cases over 3/4 of an inch of rainfall. So that's what we're expecting, the major impacts. That includes northeast Georgia, down through this 85 corridor all the way into Gwinnett County, Hall County as well, out by Lake Lanier, Forsyth County, and out towards Athens as well. Major impacts expected. This is where the wedge is going to hold strongest. This is where the freezing rain amounts will be at their highest as well. That's where we could see impassable travel for untreated roadways. We could see power outages that become numerous to widespread. And those power outages, when we have so many of them and we're getting cold after the event, they can last for days. So we're looking ahead to those significant impacts there in northeast Georgia for this system coming in. So likely an ice storm up in northeast Georgia. Here in Metro Atlanta, moderate impacts. And here's the thing, if the wedge holds stronger, then we're going to see that the ice amounts are going to go up. So at a minimum, it would be about 1/4 of an inch of ice for Atlanta, which is a ice storm warning criteria. We could see some of those ice amounts going up more than that. So it depends on how strong that wedge is. How low do our temperatures get on Sunday morning? Do we try to warm the temperatures up on Sunday afternoon? Still a lot of unknowns with this system. Also, we're expecting impacts on the southwest side of the metro, but those will likely be a little more minor in nature. We're talking ice accumulations, 1/10 of an inch or so. Some places could reach 1/4 of an inch if we really, get to the high end of the system. But you're going to be on the southern extent of that wedge. So that's going to be working a number in your favor. Now, how much ice causes problems? Well, we've put up here what kind of impacts do we start to see when we have 1/10 of an inch of ice, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch of ice. If you're in that red area on my previous map I showed, this is the impacts you need to expect. Dangerous travel, okay, on roadways, widespread tree damage, power outages. Could be long term. They could be widespread. When I say long term, that might not be a 6-hour power outage. It could be a power outage that lasts for 2 days. It could be a power outage that lasts for 4 days. We really don't know until this event wraps up here in North Georgia. But, you know, when you deal with widespread power outages, it's not a good thing, because in this case, after the winter storm clears out, the temperatures drop. So houses cool down, and that allows for the pipes to cool down, and it's colder outside, so it turns into a threat of the pipes as we get into early next week, Monday to Tuesday timeframe as well. So we do expect the most significant impacts in Northeast Georgia. Up there, very high travel issues on the roads. Power outage threat will be high up there. Closures and delays very high. I think the closures and delays will be very high everywhere. That chance of hazardous roads very high everywhere. The power outages will greatly vary depending on how much ice you end up getting, but it only takes a little bit of ice to cause the issues on the roadways for travel. Here's the big picture. The system develops Friday afternoon and evening to our west. As we head into Saturday, we will start the morning dry. Then in the afternoon, the first precipitation starts to move in. Initially, this will be a mixture of maybe some light rain for places that are warm enough, freezing rain, and some sleet pellets as well. As we head into Saturday evening, the radar is going to fill in, whether that be light, consistent freezing rain or freezing drizzle. The temperatures will keep dropping throughout Saturday night, leaving us colder first thing on Sunday morning than we started the overnight. So then we'll be down in the 20s Sunday morning with widespread freezing rain breaking out, and that'll last into parts of Saturday afternoon as well. We've dealt with a lot of rain showers today. Outside right now, you can see we actually see the skyline for the first time in several hours over Atlanta. The most rain that I'm seeing out there right now is on the eastern and southern side of town, but there are some more showers back near Birmingham, north of the I-20 corridor. Those will fill back in for the inner metro as we head throughout the afternoon today. So we've got some on and off nuisance showers today. This is not the same as the system for the weekend. This is a precursor rain event. So we've got a little bit of light rain happening right now. We'll see on and off nuisance drizzle, showers through the overnight. Even into Friday morning, some of those showers will continue with a northeast wind kind of socking that moisture in place. As we head into Friday evening, we'll try to dry things out. Saturday morning starts mostly dry. You can see here by noon on Saturday, the first of that wintry mix starting to move in. Then it really fills in on radar. That wedge strengthens. The temperatures will be dropping. And then by Sunday morning, look at the forecast track. Widespread freezing rain, accumulating freezing rain really building in. So road conditions are treacherous out there on Sunday morning as a whole. So just kind of recap with the timing here. Saturday, the first few hours of the morning are likely still going to be dry here in Metro Atlanta and most of North Georgia. It'll be late morning to early afternoon. We see first in far North Georgia that wintry mix developing during the day. That will eventually transition over into just a freezing rain outside. Initially, roads are going to be okay. We'll start to see those untreated bridges and overpasses first becoming more dangerous. Roads overnight becoming slick and icy everywhere. Temperatures will be dropping to the 20s. And then Sunday, we've still got freezing rain through much of the day. And as we go through the day on Sunday, we're going to be watching two things: what's happening with the temperatures and what's happening with the winds. If the temperatures stay in the 20s, that wedge holds strong, ice is going to continue to accumulate. If we start to see that warm nose of air building in a little bit, we'll see some of those ice amounts, the temperatures rather, going up into the 30s. So if we see that happening, that's good news, but that's not going to stop the freezing rain everywhere. The freezing rain is likely to be ongoing throughout the entire day Sunday, especially for Northeast Georgia. We're also watching the power outage threat. During the day on Sunday, the winds are going to start picking up. We'll see wind gusts around 25 miles an hour. When you add that in concert with a half an inch of freezing rain, you get a lot of power outages. You get a lot of power outages. So we are still watching all of that power outage potential, the road hazards, all of that for you here as we get closer to it. Outside today, we're in the upper 40s, low 50s out there. We have on and off rain showers continuing through the overnight and even into parts of tomorrow. Tomorrow, good day to get what you need to hunker down for the weekend. If you still have things you need to get done before that winter storm begins, Saturday morning is your window of opportunity. I want you to be where you're going to be for the storm by noon on Saturday. That way, you know, as we start to see the wintry mix developing, you're off the roadways, you're not a problem as emergency responders get to where they need to go, and then just hunker down for the duration of the storm. We're going to see you back here on 11 Alive Plus for the news starting at 4 o'clock today, and we have updates every single hour at the top of the hour here during the day today, during the day tomorrow as well, tracking the latest on our incoming winter storm.